Hey guys, it's ShadowArty here, and I'm back with another 6th Gen Wi-Fi battle. Today I've got a match against Taylor. This is another match for my stream. This was another good match, so hopefully you guys will enjoy. Looking at my opponent's team, lots and lots of threats. He's got a Talonflame, which is obviously really scary, so I really want to set up my rocks for this Talonflame because it can potentially sweep my entire team. Steelix is really my only Pokemon that resists the Talonflame. That's about it, so I have to kind of keep him at a high amount of HP or set up my rocks. That will really benefit me greatly in this match. I'm also afraid of that Raikou because I have seen a lot of Assault Vest Raikous in OU lately, so those are a possible threat all the time. He's also got two possible Megas, being the Venusaur or the Scizor, both very bulky mons, and both will be really tough to take down. So, especially since I don't have a Fire type on this team that can take down the Scizor. So the Scizor will definitely be tough, so why don't we get started with this match? So I'm going to lead off with my Choice Scarf Hoopa because I can outspeed the majority of his team and deal damage accordingly. He's actually going to lead off with the Venusaur, which is actually a really great matchup for me because obviously I can hit it with my super effective Hyperspace Hole move. And he's going to pull a nice play and switch out. I could have predicted this and went for the trick and switched in my Choice Scarf, but then again, it really wasn't worth it because if he stayed in and I went for trick, then I would have not been able to do any damage to his Venusaur and he would have retaliated with a possible hit, and I don't think I would have lived. So I'm going to have to pull a switch now that I'm locked into Hyperspace Hole. I decided to bring in my Steelix. He makes a great play and goes to the foul play. That's going to do quite a bit of damage, but actually it doesn't do as much. I'm sorry. It doesn't do as much damage as I thought it would because Steelix actually has really good attack, but that foul play did nothing. So I think it's because my Steelix is actually max HP, max defense, and not max invested in physical attack. So I actually decide to Mega Evolve here as he brings in the Venusaur and just set up my Stealth Rocks, really. It's really my best play. Actually, no, I don't set up Stealth Rocks. I just go straight for the Heavy Slam. And it does around half. So you know what? I'll take that damage as he's actually going to Mega Evolve now himself and go into his Mega Venusaur, which is obviously really scary because they can potentially stall me out. But then again, I do have a Mega Steelix, so he really can't do much to me. Even if he has the hidden power Fire, it still doesn't do anything. He makes a good play, goes to Sleep Powder, unfortunately putting my Steelix to sleep. That's going to really suck because I'm not going to have a chance to set up Stealth Rocks, and he's got a Talonflame lurking in the back, so that's going to kind of suck. I'm going to have to be forced to switch and bring in my Amoonguss now, because even if he has Sludge Bomb, it shouldn't do too much. I'm max HP, max special defense, so I can take it pretty well. As he just goes to Leech Seed, that's fine, as I'm able to scare out this Venusaur with my potential Sludge Bomb. He brings in the Talonflame, and I thought that was pretty interesting because obviously, I had the Sludge Bomb, which could have potentially hit the Talonflame with, but he actually brings in the Talonflame anyway, as I just go for the Spore. And that works out perfectly because the Talonflame's now asleep and I can bring in a counter, and I know he's probably not going to wake up first turn. Actually, he might wake up first turn, but it's pretty unlikely. I think the max average for sleep is like 2 turns. So now I'm free to bring in my Manaphy now. I am the Tail Glow set, and I can potentially set that up, but I actually decided to just go straight for the Scald just to see if it would stay in because I knew it would do a lot of damage. Turns out that's actually a one-hit KO. I did not calc this. I just randomly went for the Skull. I didn't think it would even kill, but it actually did kill, so I was actually really happy with that. And that is a dead Talonflame. That's a huge threat out of the way, so I don't even have to set up rocks for his Talonflame. I'm really happy about that. He brings in the Venusaur now. I do have Ice Beam, but obviously I can't do much to him because he does have the Thick Fat ability. I'm just going to switch, go into my Amoonguss. I resist his Giga Drain, and I don't resist his Sludge Bomb, but I can potentially go for that, and I know it would deal a decent amount of damage. He probably has Synthesis anyway, but just in case he doesn't, that will be really nice for me. As he keeps switching out, I really don't think he has a Synthesis, because if he had Synthesis, he probably would have went for it by now. He actually goes in brings in the Toxicroak now, as I just go straight for the Sludge Bomb. It does maybe like 20%. I'm fine with that damage, even though he resists that, so I'll definitely take that damage. I actually decided to go into my Crobat now. I'm actually a max HP, max defense Crobat. He goes to the Ice Punch. Nice prediction on his part. And that's going to do a ton of damage. Honestly, it probably wasn't even a prediction because my Amoonguss is weak to Ice also, and my Crobat. So I think it just so happened that we were both weak to Ice, and he went for it. He's actually going to decide to switch now, go into his Raikou, predicting a pretty obvious Brave Bird. As I just... What do I go for here? I think I just go for the Brave Bird anyway. Actually, no, I just go for the Roost. Actually, nice play on my part, healing back most of my HP. Obviously, I don't want to stay into this Raikou. I don't want to take a potential Volt Switch or Thunderbolt. As I'm going to pull a switch now of my own, and I believe I'm going to go into my Steelix now because it's probably my best play. No, I don't go into Steelix. I actually go into my my Amoonguss. Honestly, it probably wasn't the best play to go into Amoonguss because Raikous do tend to carry Hidden Power Ice, but I don't think it would do too much to me anyway. So I'm actually just gonna, I believe I just go straight for the Giga Drain this turn. Even though this thing is Assault Vested most likely, this Hidden Power Ice doesn't do any damage at all. Look at that damage. That was like laughable damage. I actually decided to go for the Spore now that his Talonflame is dead, and it's not breaking Sleep Claw. So now his Raikou's asleep, and I'm looking really good here because with this Raikou asleep, I can potentially hit him with some damage. I know the Raikous don't have any way to recover HP other than rest, I believe, but I've never seen a Raikou carry rest. So I'm pretty sure I'm in a good spot here. As long as I just weaken this Raikou as much as possible, I really don't think that he can do much to me anyway, as his best attacking move on me is the Hidden Power Ice. So that Giga Drain did quite a bit of damage. Unfortunately, it was a crit, though. I was actually kind of hoping that it wasn't a crit, because if that was regular damage, I definitely would have taken that. He's actually going to decide to pull a switch now, knowing that he can't wake up and he really can't do anything to me. He decides to bring in the Toxic Croak. Nice play on his part, because he can potentially scare me out as I just go straight for the Giga Drain. It deals a fair amount of damage. Honestly, I got 2 hits off on this Toxic Croak, and he resisted both hits. And it still did a pretty good amount of damage both times. So I'm really happy with that. This Toxic Croak has like no special defense whatsoever, so it really can't take hits that well. I actually decided to go into my Crobat once again, as I knew the Ice Punch was probably coming anyway. At this point, obviously, I know that I can outspeed this Toxic Croak, even though I'm not invested in any speed EVs. I know that Crobats have like base 140 speed, I believe, so I know that I can outspeed. As I can just keep stalling him and just keep going for Roost. Honestly, I have no reason to even go for the Brave Bird. I figured I would just keep roosting just to see if he would switch out. He actually decides to keep just staying in, so he keeps spamming Ice Punch. And that Ice Punch, since I did go for the Roost, it did a little bit of less damage because I obviously lost my flying typing there. So that actually works out for me because now I can potentially kill him with a Brave Bird. And yeah, I'm looking really good here. He actually decides to bring in the Raikou now with his sleeping Raikou because he obviously doesn't want to take a Brave Bird for his Toxic Croak, so that's going to kind of suck because he does resist my Brave Bird, but it should still deal a ton of damage anyway, even though he resists the hit. Look at that damage. It does a fair amount. That's almost a 2-hit KO, so I figured I might just go for another one, and I'm pretty sure it might kill, but I don't think it's worth the risk, though, because if it doesn't kill, he might be able to kill me, so I'm actually going to decide to switch now. I don't think it was going to... I'm not sure honestly, if the Brave Bird would have killed. So I figured I would just go into my Sleeping Steelix, try to wake up this turn, and if I can wake up, then I can retaliate and kill him with an Earthquake. He does wake up this turn, which is nice for him, as he just goes for the Hidden Power Ice. I am part ground, I believe, so that is going to do quite a bit of damage. Turns out that was actually a crit. So that was pretty funny. I'm still not waking up, which is really unfortunate. I would really like to wake up, because if I can wake up, I can kill this Raikou with a Earthquake. He then gets another crit on the Hidden Power Ice, and that's really unfortunate because I don't wake up again. And he's going to be able to take me down with the third Hidden Power Ice, and my Steelix is going to go down. So that's really unfortunate because I lose my Steelix, I lose a pretty good counter to this Raikou, and at this point I can just bring in my Waluigi again, my Amoonguss, and just go for either a Spore or a Giga Drain. He shows me the Shadow Ball, which I thought was interesting. Actually, now that I think about it, Raikous get Extra Sensory, so if he carried Extra Sensory in this match, it would have definitely helped him. I think it was kind of risky for me to keep staying in, but then again, how much damage that Hidden Power Ice did, I knew Extra Sensory wasn't going to do that much damage either. As that Hidden Power Ice did quite a bit of damage. Turns out that was actually another crit. He keeps critting me with his Hidden Power Ices. It's really annoying. I am able to take down the Raikou, though, so that's really awesome. Huge threat out of the way because it's super fast, and it's probably Assault Vested, and it's not going to be able to take me down. So his next mon is the Scizor now, and at this point I can just switch out. I obviously do not want to take a physical hit from this Scizor now, as he's actually going to go for the Swords Dance as I bring in my Crobat. So that is really unfortunate because Swords Dance is actually really scary. A +2 Scizor is really scary. I can potentially just go for the Brave Bird. It's honestly my best play, as he's just going to keep spamming Bullet Punch. I knew I can take one because I am max HP, max defense, and I'm able to retaliate with the Brave Bird. I am going to die to recoil, though. I know that for a fact. And this Brave Bird doesn't really do anything. Actually, I don't die to recoil, but he's able to kill me next turn anyway, so it's not really going to matter too much anyway. At this point, I'm just going to let Crobat die so I can have a free switch into whatever I want. With Crobat now dead, I'm actually going to decide to pull a switch into my Manaphy now, as I do carry Scald, and I do resist his Bullet Punch, which is huge because I can potentially just go for a Tail Glow and potentially try to sweep the rest of his team. I actually decided to not go for Tail Glow just in case he would predict that, and he would predict that and go for another attacking move, but he just goes for another Bullet Punch. I do go for the Scald and I don't get the burn, which is unfortunate, but the second Scald will kill the Scizor, so I'm really happy with that because the Manaphy does take down the Scizor, and that is a huge, huge threat out of the way. So with that Scizor out of the way, and he brings in the Venusaur now. At this point, this Venusaur can't really do much to my Amoonguss, so I might as well go back into Amoonguss. It's really my best play. My Amoonguss is like the MVP of this match right now because it's taking hits from everybody. It's taking hits from his Raikou, taking hits from his Venusaur. It's really a really good Pokemon. So, and with Regenerator, I can heal almost all that HP back even when I switched out. As you guys saw, that I had like half my HP, but when I brought it in again with Regenerator, I have a lot more HP. So he's going to decide to pull a switch now. He obviously does not want to take a Sludge Bomb. He decides to bring in his Umbreon now. That's interesting because Umbreon does resist my hit, honestly, but if I get a Poison on this thing, I think I'm set for this match. And he does have Synchronize, but obviously I am part Poison, so I cannot get poisoned. Really big for me, as I'm able to just switch out now because I really cannot do much to this Umbreon anyway. I actually decided to go into my Torterra now because it's Assault Vested, as he just goes for the Foul Play. A little bit unfortunate. It's going to do quite a bit of damage. It's actually not even a 2-hit KO, so I thought that was interesting. Yeah, but I can potentially try to kill this Umbreon now because he really can't do much to me. He goes for Toxic. That's about the only thing he can do to me. He can potentially kill me with a Foul Play, potentially next turn, depending on how much Poison will do, as I just go straight for the Earthquake. I know he's going to do a lot. Torterra has a lot of physical offense. Turns out that was actually a crit. I was actually really disappointed with that damage because if that wasn't a crit, I would have been really happy with that but since that was a crit, I'm actually a little bit disappointed. He goes for the Moonlight, which is really unfortunate because he's just going to keep stalling me out. This Umbreon's just going to be annoying. Try to stall me out as I just keep spamming Earthquakes. At this point, I just want to cripple this Umbreon a little bit. If I could poison this thing, that would have been actually really good for me because I could have limited the amount of time that he could have stayed in. That would have been pretty big for me, I thought. Now I'm just pretty much, he's just going to keep stalling me out. I actually decide to switch out now, go into my Amoonguss once again, and try to potentially put this thing to sleep or something along those lines, because if I can do that, then this Umbreon is not going to be looking too good. He goes for Foul Play, does a pretty decent amount of damage. Turns out that was actually a crit, and I'm able to get off damage on this thing. So at this point, I actually decide to go for the, I forgot what I go for, hang on. He goes for another Foul Play. It's going to do a decent amount of damage. Even that's not a crit this time, as I'm able to just hit this thing with a Sludge Bomb. At this point, I just want to get a Poison off on this thing. If I can get the Poison, I think I have the match in my favor. So yeah, at this point, I figured I'd just keep spamming Sludge Bomb. It's really my best play, as he's just going to keep spamming Foul Play. So yeah, he doesn't kill me. Obviously, I have potentially time to live one more. I finally get the Poison after throwing like 10 Sludge Bombs at him. I finally get the Poison, which is huge because now I can cripple this thing a little bit. He does still outspeed me though, which is unfortunate because he can potentially just keep going for Moonlight. It's really his best play. He really has no reason not to. As I'm able to just switch out now, go back into my Torterra. I believe I go back into... No, I'm sorry, I don't go back into Torterra. I actually have another plan. I actually decided to go into my Hoopa. He goes for Foul Play. Worst play on my part because I just lost my Hoopa. I honestly thought he was going to Moonlight there. If he did, I could have tricked him my Choice Scarf and crippled this Umbreon. But unfortunately, he decided to go for the Foul Play and kill my Hoopa. That's really unfortunate. Really bad play on my part, honestly. But then again, it kind of was the best play. But it's not the worst situation in the world because honestly, I can now bring in my Manaphy now. Go for the Ice Beam and kill him. Honestly, I went for Ice Beam there just in case he wanted to switch out and bring in the Venusaur. I know Venusaur has thick fat anyway, but Ice Beam would have done more damage to him than the Scald anyway. So he brings in the Toxicroak now. I actually decided to just stay in, keep spamming Ice Beam, and knock out this Toxicroak. So now the Toxicroak is dead, and I believe his final Pokemon is the Venusaur. And yeah, at this point, I figured I could switch and go into my Torterra, or I could just stay in and sacrifice my Manaphy. I actually decided to switch out and go into my Amoonguss. I'm sorry, I don't go back into Amoonguss. I go into my Torterra pretty much as death fodder at this point because I know I can't live. He actually goes for Sludge Bomb. I was kind of interested there because I figured he'd go for Giga Drain, but then again, I did have my Amoonguss in the back anyway, so it didn't really matter too much. At this point, my Torterra is going to die because he is going to Giga Drain me, and that is going to be a dead Torterra. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I do still have my Amoonguss, and I'm still looking really good here. I'm not too worried. I actually decided to go into my Amoonguss now, my best play, my MVP, my specially defensive wall, and at this point, we're just going to keep exchanging Sludge Bombs because it's really our only chance. It's really my only chance to win this match because I know it's going to do quite a bit of damage. That Sludge Bomb actually does a little bit less damage than I wanted it to do, but then again, I am a especially defensive Amoonguss anyway. So he's going to keep spamming Sludge Bomb. He really has no reason not to, as I'm going to keep spamming my own Sludge Bomb, and eventually I'm going to kill this Venusaur because he did show me he doesn't have Synthesis because he honestly, if he had the Synthesis, he would have went for it already. I actually decided to switch out my Amoonguss now, bring in my Manaphy pretty much as death fodder now, as I knew he's probably going to go for the Sludge Bomb. I didn't want him to Giga Drain because I didn't want him to heal back any HP, and that Sludge Bomb does a great amount of damage. It does activate my Salic Berry, which really doesn't matter at this point because this Venusaur is going to die to an Ice Beam anyway, and that is going to be I believe, a 2-0 victory in my favor. And yeah, so hopefully you guys did enjoy today's match. If you did, leave me a like, a favorite, and a subscription, and I will catch you guys in the next one. This is Shadow Artie, signing out. Peace, guys.